This video is sponsored by Imperial Gaming and Collectibles.
I'ma show you how to get paper, boy. Show you how to get to that shit, stack it up real high, real high. See the hate in your eye, but I can't tell just what you hating for. See you over there hating, but I don't really know what you hating for, bro. Never really pay attention to what they doing, I just ignore it. I don't even really pay attention, man. I'm Stevie Wonder to all that shit. Stop no talking, let your progression they go.
What's up, Paper Gang? My name is PaperYGO, and welcome to another deck profile video on the channel. I am here with Kallum. Kallum, who are you, and what are you here to do?
Yeah, hello guys. Hope you're all well. I am basically known as the GOUKI god in the eyes of Top Deck or Yugioh Replays. I've been playing GOUKI for about a year now, especially on Dueling Book and stuff like that. Only recently I've just had a regional top back in November of last year. Yeah, I'm just grinding out with GOUKI, I guess.
That's amazing. And first and foremost, for my viewers, I'm a newer channel, as many of you know. And Kallum, you don't have a typical American accent, so where are you from, my friend?
Yeah, so I'm from England, part of the UK, with a bigger part of the UK, the middle of it, basically. Mm-hmm. And yeah, so our player base, competitive player base, is very, very strong. And yeah, I believe we've got everything to go, you know what I mean?
Well, that's amazing. So where was the regional that you took this deck to, and how did you finish?
Yeah. So I took this deck to Birmingham, which is the second biggest city in England, next to London. And I went X2 after 7 rounds, and I finished 11th place out of 103 players.
Wow, congratulations. That's a really solid finish right there. You just missed topping, didn't you?
Yeah, I lost my last round actually, and that's because I scooped too early game 2, and if I just played for the draw, I would have topped.
Oh, my friend. Well, you know what? It does happen, and especially later in the rounds at the end of a long tournament when we're tired and we can make really poor decisions like that. So I'm sorry that happened to you, and now you know for next time.
Exactly. I'd rather experience it now than later.
Right. Well, without further ado, what I first want to do is shout out my sponsor, Imperial Gaming and Collectibles. Be sure to check them out for all your trading card game needs and accessories. I have their links in the description down below. They've got the best staff in the game, and they've got everything you could ever need. Kallum, would you like to give any shout outs before we begin?
Yes, so first of all, shout out to Yugioh Replays. Check them out on Twitch and YouTube. Second of all, shout out to NDD Games TCG. That's my friend Cameron. Please check him out on YouTube as well. Thirdly, check out Sir Emanon on YouTube as well. Obviously, he was the one I sent replays to of me playing the deck essentially. And shout out to my friends Jake and Dre and Alex for taking me to this event as well.
Wonderful. I'm glad you shouted out your friends, because I couldn't do anything that I do right now without the help of my loving friends, so I really do appreciate that. Now, one thing that you did mention was the shout out of Sir Emanon. So this deck profile is what Sir Emanon was inspired by, and you can actually check that deck profile out on my partner's channel, LoganJYA. We host tournaments every single Wednesday night at 6:30 p.m. It's called the GG for free, and we host it on Dueling Book. I have the link to that down in the description as well. Go check out Logan's Discord, and you'll find the link down below. But without further ado, let's get right into the deck profile. So starting off, it looks like you got 3 copies of Ash Blossom, which is, just a hand trap that's in everyone's deck right now. Not much to say about that.
That's right.
And then you've also got, you've got the Destiny Hero package, but it looks like you're playing Dasher and Denier. So can you tell us a little bit about why you chose to play Denier over Celestial?
Yeah, so the reason why I don't play Celestial is because GOUKIs always add themselves. Mm-hmm. So you get to the cards that you want to see anyway. So you don't need to really draw them. Secondly, your hand is pretty much always full. You can never empty your hand unless you're at the point where you're winning drastically. So Celestial's kind of pointless, whereas Denier is a follow-up after turn 1, as soon as you dump it with Fusion Destiny. It also helps get game as well if you hard open Fusion Destiny, so you can just send the Denier, send the Dasher, and then if you have access code and you have Enforcer, that's game straight up with the Denier on board as well.
Oh, wow, that's wonderful. And yeah, a lot of people do speculate that if Celestial were to get hit on the ban list, that Denier would be its replacement immediately, because this is the card that they printed recently, right, to kind of mitigate Celestial, right?
Yeah, so it was printed in Bodus along with the Enforcer as well, and Break the Destiny, which is a trap card for Destiny Heroes as well.
Right. All right, well, really cool choice. So let's, continuing on, we've got 3 Firefant Lady. What does this card help facilitate in this deck?
Yeah, so this card basically is just so helpful. It lets you play Connector in terms of, like, you know, if that gets stopped, then you don't have to, like, have Headback to extend. Whereas Fireflint is, like, you get to use that alongside the Connector and then push through, let's say, an Ash Blossom or an Imperm, let's say. And that's why it's pretty good.
3 copies of Ghost Spell, which is a really solid hand trap right now, and of course the 2 Ogre to combat all the Brave engines that we have going around, so those are 2 pretty solid choices. Then we've got 1 copy of GOUKI Guts. For the Goukis, we've got 3 Headbat, 1 Iron Claw, 1 Octo Stretch, 3 Suprex, and then you've got 2 Twist Cobra. So talk a little bit about the ratios here of the GOUKI engine. Is this considered pretty standard, or would you make any changes?
Okay, so I feel like the Suprex, the Headbat, and the 2 level 1s are standard. You don't want to play any more than like 2 of the level 1s because they're basically the same card but also have their unique effects, right? You need to play 3 Headbat because in a way it's another Fireflint Lady, but it's a situational one. It gives you a stronger grind game as well, and obviously with the attack gain effect part of it, that also can come up as well, just going for game and stuff like that. So, but yeah, Twist Cobra, you can play it as a one-off, but in this format I like to have 2, just because of the attack boost as well. So, and the quick effect side of things as well. So you can use it in your opponent's turn when they try to attack you when you have Twist Cobra and another GOUKI body.
Right.
Yeah, so it can come up. It didn't come up for this tournament, but in general, it can come up.
Okay. That's pretty cool. Thanks for explaining that. And after that, we do have the Immortal Phoenix Gearfried and the Infernoble Knight Renaud. So why don't you touch a little bit on these cards for newer players who are maybe not too familiar?
Yeah, so if anyone's watched LoganJYA's deck profile for Sir Emanon when he topped the Regional 64, right? Obviously, Sir Emanon shouted me out because he was talking about how this engine was so phenomenal. That was his exact words. And you know what? Like, this engine, I discovered it just because, like, I was playing on Dueling Book and I was playing Renaud. Then I thought to myself, what if I can play Gearfried to supplement it, make it even better? So that's what I did. I tried it out and I was like, whoa, this is next level. And yeah, so I played it basically consistently ever since. And honestly, that's why we play Iron Claw as well, the GOUKI Iron Claw. So we can send 2 equips and then we can add the Gearfried off of his ult for the first effect. And then we can just summon it straight away on the following turn as well.
That's really nice. And of course, being a 3,000 body in the main deck is nothing to scoff at. So Gearfried, Gearfried is a big boy, as they like to say.
Yeah. The fact that you can equip cards as well, your opponents. Let's say your opponent has a Dark Charmer or a Enforcer or anything that floats, you can just equip it and then all of a sudden they lose their entire grind game.
Right. It plays around, and it also plays around things that can't be targeted or destroyed as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so moving on, we've got the Neospace Connector, followed by the Aqua Dolphin. Would you say this is probably your best starter in the deck?
Honestly, yes. Just because of the it gives you hand knowledge. It gives you information on what you need to play around, what cards you need to stop in your opponent's turn, and yeah, I feel like it's really unfair. This is the unfair part of the deck.
Yeah, basically, if they don't have a hand trap that interacts with it and it has less attack, it's basically not a card in their hand anymore, and you just got 2 bodies on board to make your assault. So that's incredibly broken.
Yeah. It's very strong.
Now I've got a question. So how did Nibiru do for you in this tournament? Because I see you're playing 3 in the main deck. So how did that fare for you in the tournament?
Honestly, Nibiru against the combo decks I played against, because I played against Sword Soul, Bird Up, Phantom Knights, Fluffle surprisingly, and Dragon Link, and Drytron as well. Like, this card was phenomenal as well. Like, it's fantastic, and I would not cut it.
So you just happened to get some really good Nibiru matchups, so it paid off for you.
Yeah, it was fantastic, honestly. Even against the Brave side of things as well. like, it comes up because you can just get rid of the Griffin negate, and then all of a sudden you can do whatever you want in your turn.
Right. Yeah, that's really great. I'm glad it worked out for you there. You also have the 2 Super Quantum Red Layer, which is basically just a free body on board. And having 2 is really nice because it can actually recur itself, which is great.
That's right.
Yeah.
I always it's quite common that I use its effect to add itself back, to be fair.
Oh yeah, I remember in Infernoble format, people were doing this to me quite a bit, and it was so annoying because every turn they had a free 2,000 body no matter what.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy because it gives you a never-ending loop of grind. You know what I mean? So, you know, GOUKI's already good at grinding out, but with a red layer on top of it, it's like really like annoying.
Right, it's like oppressive. And then, of course, you've got the 3 Durendal, which is basically like your Searcher or like another copy of Rhoda for the deck.
Yeah.
You've got the Divine Sword Phoenix Blade, which is basically, it's going to help you use your graveyard more as a resource to keep your hand advantage. And I'm sure, you know, everyone is familiar with these cards. I see you played the 2 copies of Fusion Destiny, of course, for the Enforcer. And then you've got the 2 copies of Rematch. So did you like this card at 2, or would you have cut it to 1 or added a 3rd?
So before going on to the Rematch, I just want to say about Durendal, if that's okay.
Oh, sure, yeah.
A play I like to do is basically have Renaud in graveyard, and then basically equip the Durendal I have in hand to a monster on my board. Let's say an Enforcer, and then I pop Enforcer, and then because it's sent to the graveyard alongside the Durendal, I can use Durendal as chain link 2, target the Renaud to chain block Enforcer, and then Renaud gets reborn, and then I can use it to add back the Durendal or Gear 3 red layer 5 link that's already in the graveyard.
Wow, so at that point they basically have to have called by, or else that the DP is coming back no matter what.
Exactly. Going on to your question about Rematch, I was actually testing out 1 because games are ending really quickly, so like the second one should not come up. However, when you're going second, and even when you're going first, like, because Bell's really popular now, like, you need the second one just to play around that card, and also it gives you a stronger grind game as well. Being able to crack boards with it as well is just really important.
Yeah, not to mention a lot of the Omni negates in the game right now will negate activation, so if you happen to search this one out and open the other one and they negate the first activation, you can always slam down the second one.
Exactly, and also it makes your nightmares better if you open it as well, because let's say you have like a GOUKI name and then like a different level GOUKI name with 5 flint. You just summon the 5 flint, the GOUKI name, and basically like go into a nightmare, discard the other GOUKI, search a Rematch, and then like you can go into access code from there.
Wonderful. And then for the final 5 cards, you got the 1-for-1, basically a free special summon for your level 1s. If you play level 1s that you need to see, you always play this card at 1, in my opinion. And not to mention your cards do things in the graveyard, so really powerful there. Of course, the Rhoda, you don't play a warrior deck without it, and the 3 infinite impermanence. So how was Imperm for you in this tournament?
Yeah, so one of my friends who's Italian actually, Samu, he suggested that I played Imperm over Vela. His reason behind it was that it basically was good as a 6th card as well, whereas Vela was only good like in your opening 5 card hand.
Right.
Yeah, so like also this card, it's really good in terms of like, you know, you can set it into a column where like a floodgate is, or where like, you know, the Fateful Adventure is. You just set it into that column, and all of a sudden, like, you know, that card's just shut off.
Right. If you put this card in, there can be only 1's column, and they think they're safe. It's like all of a sudden you're not anymore.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the reason behind why I played that. So
Really smart. All right, so let's move on to the side deck. You had 2 Droll, you had the Gamma package, you had 2 Token Collector, 1 Called by the Grave, 3 Dark Ruler No More, and 3 Twin Twisters. So is there anything you'd like to say about the side deck? What was the MVP? What would you change?
Yeah, so first of all, Twin Twister never came up, surprisingly. It would have came up against Thunder, but I didn't see it, so it is what it is. So I've actually changed this already to be Evenly.
Okay.
But just because Evenly is more impactful overall rather than just specific matchups.
Right.
Secondly, Dark Ruler. Again, it was also theorized. So basically, nobody's playing around Dark Ruler right now. And because of that, I thought that, obviously me and Jake came up with this. So basically, because no one's playing around it, people get punished even harder by Dark Ruler. So let's say the opponent goes, like they'll usually go standby phase, Enforcer, Pop, Scythe. But when you Dark Ruler them in the main phase, and they don't do that play in the standby phase, they just auto lose the game.
Oh yeah, they're very sad. I mean, actually, I was in a tournament the other day where I almost shotgunned my DP in standby because I was so afraid of Dark Ruler because it just ended the game for me. So that must have been a really good meta call and came up really well for you.
Yeah, it did. I put it in like against like a lot of the combo matchups I had. I have like a list of my matchups that went down. And pretty much it always went in, just because of how impactful it was.
Right.
The Token Collector I sided in once against Sword Soul, and that was round 1. I didn't see it though, so I can't really comment on it. The 2 Droll came in against Flunder, and with Power Load Ogre on the field alongside it, he just scooped up game 2. It comes up against opponents who use Water Enchantress to add the right, and that really punishes based. So that was the thinking behind that as well.
Yeah, not to mention this card is also really good for something like Adignister, which, you know, the Towers monster is really hard to get around. Droll is basically the only thing that you can do unless you happen to get lucky and they don't draw their extenders.
Yeah, I mean, Droll's like going to be really impactful, especially with Albaz structure deck coming around as well. So
oh, absolutely,
it's definitely going to be very, MVP for next format as well.
Oh yeah, and definitely get him now because this is a card that when it shoots up in price, it really shoots up in price. This card can get expensive.
It's really expensive already though for the commons as well, which is quite unfortunate.
Oh, that is unfortunate. Yu-Gi-Oh is just an expensive game all around, isn't it?
Yeah, sadly, I wish it wasn't. I mean, I guess I'm a bit lucky because I can borrow cards as well. So.
All right. Well, let's move on to the extra deck. So basically, I think most people are probably familiar with the majority of this extra deck. So I'll just go through it really quickly, but then I'll have you explain some of the GOUKI cards and maybe a couple of the other interesting choices you have here as well. So it looks like you have the DPE, of course, who's basically the heart and soul of the deck. You've got oh yeah, a fan favorite, as it were. Access Code Talker to kill, Appaloosa to negate, and then you've got the Power Load Ogre. So you were saying that this card in a lot of cases was just game. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, so basically UK regionals tend to have like a lot of people who play on a budget. Fluanda is a budget deck apart from the Riser. And my thinking was, if I made this against Flunder, they just lost, like they just auto lose. So that's why we put that in the extra deck. It was more of a last minute because it was either going to be Savyuja or it was going to be this, and I thought Paolo would win me more games. So that's what happened, and I won the game that I actually played it against Flunder. So
right, because basically they can't use M-Pen to cut this guy's attack in half.
Exactly, so it's unaffected. Like no matter what they do, they can't out it unless they crash over with Riser.
Right.
But then if I have an Enforcer on board, then I just go Enforcer, pop the Riser, and then they just auto lose.
Wow, that's clutch. Then you've got the IP for the Unicorn, and then probably to climb into the access code. You probably use that on your opponent's turn as a disruption. I
also use it for Avermax as well.
Right.
Avermax was like actually the MVP, which I'll get onto later on.
Okay.
Because you can't be destroyed by card effects with IP as well.
Right, that's something that a lot of people forget about. And then Avermax has its own built-in protection as it is, so it's just an amalgamation of protection. So I see you're playing 2 Isolt. Did the second one ever come up?
Yeah, it always comes up, just because of the grind game, right? And obviously your ability to OTK on the following turn as well, so that's when it comes up.
Yeah, it's weird because I know a lot of people when this card first came out, we thought that it would be on Konami's radar for a ban, but it looks like it's pretty much gone under the radar, untouched for quite a while.
It has, and luckily for me, that has been the case. However, I do feel like it is one of these cards that will eventually, get the chop, let's say.
It could be, because Warriors, obviously, just the fact that they have Rhoda makes them incredibly powerful on its own.
Yeah, exactly.
Then you got the Nightmares, Cerberus, Phoenix, Unicorn. I don't think there's much to say there, just basic toolbox removal in the form of a Link. Then you've got your Link Kuribo for your Link 1s, which is really nice. And then
Kuribo's actually really good, man.
Okay, talk about this card a little bit. Yeah, how did it perform for you?
It was fantastic, honestly. Against my Fluffle opponent, round 6, he was actually like X1. Round 6 with Fluffle, surprisingly. It was mental. Like, I went from a graveyard, and because I set up Guts onto my board with Rematch, because I hard drew Fusion Destiny, I ended on Claw with Guts and Appaloosa with Enforcer. And what I did was, my opponent made Dark Charmer, and then I opened up my graveyard because he asked me to look for his graveyard, and I went here, look, and I revealed the Link Kuribo and made it obvious that I had Link Kuribo, and he said target Link Kuribo with Dark Charmer, and I said chain Link Kuribo, tribute the Guts on my board in his turn. So it was sort of a mind game thing. So I wanted him to target the Link Kuribo, and he did.
Wow, that's brilliant.
Then, yeah, so it's really crazy. And then also Link Kuribo lets me play on my opponent's turn just by tributing Guts or Octo.
Wow, that's really smart. And yeah, you know, that is something that I haven't really touched upon on my channel yet, but Yu-Gi-Oh! Is just as much of a mental game as it is a physical game. The way that you act, your mannerisms can really have an effect on how your opponent plays, and you can almost, you know, if you're behind, sometimes the way that you present yourself can cause them to play in a certain way, maybe to play a little bit more loose so you can take advantage of different choke points. So that was a really interesting interaction you had there with Link Kuribo.
Thank you. Yeah, it was pretty good.
And now on to the guy that you wanted to touch upon a little bit. What do you have to say about Avermax here?
He's actually the best Link 4 in the game.
Hot take.
Like, literally, it's just so crazy. Like, whenever I summoned him at the weekend, I won the game. Like, literally, nobody could out him. Against Based, if you make it, they just lose. They're just like, what do I do? Like,
Right.
I can access code, but if it's made with IP, they can't get rid of it.
Right.
The only way that you're ideally like getting rid of it this format is with droplets or talents
Or skill drain.
Then,
yeah.
Like, there's cards in the format, so.
Right. Yeah, I think skill drain is probably the only card currently in the format that can out this card.
Yeah, but also Avermax can out skill drain as well. Just because if it's shuffled by card and not even card effect, like you can just shuffle back the skill drain anyway.
That's right. My friend Hugo and I used to have a funny saying about Avermax. If I go down, I'm taking you down with me.
I love that. That's great. I'm going to be using that from now on.
Moving on, we've got the Vertex, which is to make your DPE. So this card is, you know, amazing as usual. And then, you think this one could get the axe on the ban list?
It should do, yeah. Also, this card effect at the top nobody knows about, but it can target a monster and make it dark. Now that's a big Veiler bait because, like, let's say you want to bait Super Poly, you just go Vertex, target your opponent's, like, I don't know, just a random, like, Griffin, let's say, and they're like, oh shoot, it's actually going to Super Poly me, and then he goes, oh, I'll negate it with Veiler, and then you don't take 2k from using the other effect, so it's free.
Right, I see. Yeah, that's really smart. I presume that when the Albaz structure deck comes out, that's going to be a play that's going to be in the metagame for sure.
Yeah, 100%. It will be. And Super Poly is going to be very, very good. I think it's going to be the best card in the next format, to be fair.
Oh, absolutely. I think the ultis at this point are already 200 USD. So if you held on to those, you know, you're a rich man at this point.
It's kind of crazy.
All right, so finally we've got two really spicy tech choices. The first one, the one we couldn't pronounce, is Raten, the Heavenly General. So talk to us a little bit about this one.
Yeah, so if you go check out Yugioh Replays, I'll speak to him about it. And basically my thought process is with this card is that it's a different attribute extra deck monster in terms of access code banishing. It also is Earth Warrior, so basically if I go up against a Rivalry or Gozen, I can basically out it just by using GOUKI names into this, and then I can play freely after making it.
Right.
So that's what the thought process was for this card.
Interesting. Yeah, because I presume that this deck's, and you know, probably the reason that you sided in Twin was because floodgates can be a real problem for this deck. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. So when this deck is floodgated, it's a huge struggle, but when it's not, it's just so hard to beat.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It just keeps going. And then the final card is one that I really love. I used to mess around with this card a little bit, and it's largely not played. I don't know of anyone who does play this card at the moment, but it's Security Dragon. Talk to us a little bit about this one.
Yeah, so Security Dragon is pretty good because you can co-link it to your nightmares, right? So let's say you have Security Dragon in the EMZ and then put a Cerberus underneath it, and then like you can draw a card, destroy a card, and then like after you've used Cerberus, you can then bounce another monster on your opponent's turn. So it's basically a card that applies a lot of pressure on the opponent to stop. Now, if they don't stop it, they bounce, then something gets bounced. But if they do stop it, then I can just jump into Avermax, Access Code, Appaloosa, right? So either way, it's a lose-lose situation for my opponent in terms of that aspect.
Right. So your link twos basically are like your baits, and then your deck is just full of extenders, so you can just keep going on into your fours, and then basically seal the deal from there.
Yeah, and then obviously when the link 4 comes out, it's kind of really it's really hard to deal with.
Absolutely. Well, Kallum, thank you so much for sharing this deck profile and your insights about the deck with us. Before we wrap up the video, is there anything else that you'd like to add?
Yeah, is it okay if I go through my rounds? Is that possible?
Absolutely, go for it.
Brilliant. Okay, so my rounds were, round 1 was against Sword Soul. I won 2-0. So basically it was a quick game. I impermed on the Moyi, and it was enough for him just to pass turn. And then I just OTK'd him basically, and that was what the noteworthy thing was. Round 2 was against Drytron. I won 2-1. I won the dice roll as well. So basically, I just made Apple against Drytron, so I saw his hand. And basically it was enough, and he just ended on Enforcer, and it was fine because I just had tons of follow-up anyway. Round 4, it was against... Oh no, sorry. Round 3 was against Flunder. I lost because in 3 I didn't open any hand traps when I started in GAMR, draws, everything, right? And I just didn't open any. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Round 4 was Phantom Knight. I won 2-0. The guy had Scythe set in game 2, and I just didn't pop it with Phoenix. Round 5 was Bird Up. I won 2-1. Game 1 I misplayed because I didn't bell the Warbler, and I didn't expect Canary. I should have just belled the Warbler straight up.
Right.
But then I learned from that in game 2 and 3. I just kept belling the Warbler, and he just lost. Round 6 was Fluffle. Mental. So funny. I can't believe that.
Cross Sheep OTK.
It was not even that. It was just literally like Cruel Whale, Tiger. He won game 1 actually, and I reverse sweeped it, and I won in time because I attacked directly with Isolde. Because I normal summoned Denier, and then used Fireflint, summoned, and then went into Isolde, tapped game, and then comboed.
Oh, that's
time
great.
was called.
Yeah.
And then round 7 was when I won game 1 because of Avermax. He couldn't out it. Game 2, I basically I was on lower life, and basically I should have just put him on like trying to kill me, because if I lost the game 2 and it was a 1-1, it was a draw, and I would have topped. So yeah. And then game 3, he gammered my Fireflint lady, and I couldn't get to connector, so I couldn't win that game. So yeah, he won that one. But yeah, it was a great experience overall. And again, just shout out to all my friends and everyone who I know. So yeah.
Well, that's wonderful, Kallum. It was amazing having you on the channel. I'm so appreciative of you, my friend. I love you with all my heart. Shout out England, by the way. God bless the entire world, my friend. I hope that we can all come together as one day and just appreciate each other. And Yu-Gi-Oh, I feel like, is a vehicle for that. Would you agree?
I 100% agree with that, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, without further ado, I'd like to wrap this video up. My name is PaperYGO. As always, stay getting that paper, and I will see you in the next video.